Hi, this is Madhavi. In this before session, we discussed about Azure Integration Runtime and how to install Azure Integration Runtime. Now we will discuss about another type of the integration runtime, that is self-hosted integration runtime. Self-hosted integration runtime can run copy activities between a cloud data store and data store in a private network. It also can dispatch transform activities against compute resources in an on-premises network or an Azure virtual network. The installation of a self-hosted integration runtime needs on-premises machine or a virtual machine inside a private network. There are some points to be considered while using a self-hosted integration runtime. Let us discuss one by one. First thing is single self-hosted. We can use a single self-hosted integration runtime for a multiple on-premises data sources. We can also share it with another data factory within the same Azure Active Directory tenant. Second one instance. You can install only one instance of a self-hosted integration runtime on any single machine. If you have two data factories or Synapse workspace that need to be accessed on-premises data sources, either use the self-hosted integration sharing features to share the self-hosted integration runtime, or install the self-hosted integration runtime on two on-premises computers, one for each data factory or Synapse workspace. The third thing is a not same mission. Not same mission in sense, the self-hosted integration runtime doesn't need to be on the same machine as a data source. However, having the same hosted integration runtime close to the data source reduces the time for the self-hosted integration runtime to connect to the data source. We recommend that you install the self-hosted runtime on a machine that differs from one that hosts on the on-premises data source. When the self-hosted integration runtime and data source are on different machine, the self-hosted integration runtime doesn't compete with the data source for resources. Next, we have multiple self-hosted integration runtimes. We can have a multiple self-hosted integration runtime on different machines that connect to the same on-premises data source. For example, if we have two self-hosted integration runtime that serve two data factories, the same on-premises data source can be registered with both data factories. Next, to support data integration. Use a self-hosted integration runtime to support data integration with an Azure virtual network. Next, firewall. Treat your data source as an on-premises data source that is behind a firewall. Even when you use Azure Express Route, use the self-hosted integration runtime to connect services to the data source. Cloud. Use the self-hosted integration runtime even if the data source is in the cloud or an Azure infrastructure as a service virtual machine. Next, cannot share. Currently, self-hosted integration runtime can only be shared with a multiple data factories. It cannot be shared across Synapse Workspace or between the data factory and Synapse Workspace. Next, we'll go to the another topic. It's command flow and the data flow. When you move data between on-premises and the cloud, the activities uses a self-hosted integration runtime to transfer the data between on-premises data source and the cloud. The developer first creates a self-hosted integration runtime within an Azure Data Factory or Synapse Workspace by using Azure Portal or the PowerShell. Then the data developer creates a linked services for an on-premises data source. Specifying the self-hosted integration runtime instance that the service should as to connect the data sources. Next one, the self-hosted integration runtime node encrypts the credentials by using Window Data Protection Application Program Interface. This is also known as DPAPI and save the credentials locally. If multiple nodes are set for high availability, the credentials are further synchronized across other nodes. Each node encrypts the credentials by using DP API and stores them locally. Credential synchronization is transparent to the data developer and is handled by a self-host integration runtime. Azure Data Factory and Synapse pipelines communicate with the self-hosted integration runtime to schedule and manage jobs. Communication is via a control channel that users share Azure Relay connection. When an activity job needs to be run, the service queues the request along with any credentials information. It does so in case credentials aren't already stored on the self-host integration runtime. The self-host integration runtime start the job after it pulls the queue. Next, it copies the data. Means the self-hosted integration runtimes copies data between on-premises store and cloud storage. The direction of the copy depends upon how the copy activity is configured in the data pipeline. For this step, the self-hosted integration runtime directly communicates with the cloud-based storage services like Azure Block Storage over a HTTPS channel. This is about the command flow and the data flow. Now, let us see how to install a self-hosted integration runtime on our virtual machine. Let us go back to the Azure Data Factory. We already discussed in the management tab, we have integration runtime options. Click on new and select. We have two different options. We have three types of integration runtime. We already discussed. One is Azure, one is self-hosted, one is Azure SSIS. Now we are selecting self-hosted integration runtime. Let's click on the continue button and we have here self-hosted. Just click on that and click on continue button and name your integration runtime as your wish. I'm using self-hosted itself because okay, self-hosted. Then click on create. Then we have two different type of options to install the self integration runtime on a virtual machines using an authentication key, or we can download the software. First, we will see the option 2, that is a manual setup that we need to install on the running machine. Now click on download and install integration runtime. That will goes to the web page that will show you integration runtime. Select the language and click on download. It is showing various type of options. Let us install the latest version so it would be better. The integration runtime is installing in the machine. It will take around time. After installation, the installation name should be disclosed in the panel where we already have the self-hosted integrations and Azure integrations. Then our self-hosted integration runtime is successfully installed. This is about the self-hosted integration runtime and Azure integration runtime.